Hey folks, Mr. Dell here. We are looking at evaluating expressions given values. So these are algebraic expressions, and they give us the values for those variables, and then we evaluate and do the order of operations accordingly. So this is coming from CPM Course 3, CC3, and this is section 2.1.8, and it's number 2-80. Okay, so we have a variable expression, right? Our variable algebraic expression, and then we've got values for those variables. So it's once when you evaluate, we're basically plugging in those values and doing the math. So plug in the values. So here this means 6m. What does 6m mean? It means 6 times m. That's what that means. When there's a number, that coefficient, we call that a coefficient. A coefficient of a variable, it just means multiplication. And the same thing here. This means 2 times n squared. But n squared, when you have a variable, when you have an exponent, it means n times n. And so the squared is only on the n, not the 2. So really what we have here is this expression in long form is 6 times m plus 2 times n times n. So now I got to take and plug in my values into each of those variables. So we would say it's 6. So if I rewrite this, 6 times, instead of m, it's 7, plus 2 times, instead of n, I'm using a 3. 2 times 3 times 3. So order of operations at this point. I don't do addition first. I do my multiplication. Multiply from left to right. So 6 times 7 is 42. Keep the addition there. And then it's 2 times 3 times 3. Right? 2 times 3 is 6. Times 3 again is 18. So now 42 times plus 18 is 60. So the value of A is 60. Okay. B, same thing. This time my expression here is 5x over 3, all minus 2. Right? Remember, it's 5 times x and then divided by 3. That fraction bar also means division. Then I subtract by 2. So I'm going to put in place of the x, instead of x, we're using 18, negative 18. So it's 5 times negative 18. Okay, so I'm going to actually use a little set of parentheses to show the multiplication so we protect that minus sign there. So the negative sign. So it's 5 times negative 18, all divided by 3, then minus 2. So 5 times negative 18, let's see, 5 times 18 is 90, and it's negative. So really now this becomes negative 90 divided by 3, all minus 2. So I'm going to bring this up here so we can see it. So negative 90 divided by 3 is negative 30, and then minus 2. And when you're subtracting 2, you have a negative number minus 2, right? It's the same thing as saying adding a negative, right? When you have a minus, it's add the opposite. It also means add a negative. You're really taking that negative number and you're going further this way down the number line. So that's why it's negative 30 plus negative 2, which is negative 32. So that's my answer for that one. All right, let's keep going. C. This expression, I have 6x squared, and all of it, right? The parentheses is around all the 6x. So that means 6 and then x times 6x. That's what 6x squared is. And remember, 6x, what does that mean? That means 6 times x times 6 times x. The coefficients of a variable just means multiplication. So that whole thing expands to this. And then it's minus what? Minus x divided by 5. So I've just got to put in now place of the x. In place of x is a 10. So what I have here is I have 6 times 10 times 6 times 10 minus 10 divided by 5. We have multiplication, division, and subtraction. So I'm going to do my multiplication division first from left to right. So 6 times 10 times 6 times 10. Remember multiplication, the nice thing with this one is you can multiply out of order. Multiplication is what we call commutative. So I can flip those two around. So really I'm going to multiply the 10s first and get 100. 10 times 10 is 100. Then I'm going to multiply the 6s and I'm going to get 36. So 36 times 100 is 3,600. So that's a nice quick way to do that multiplication without just multiplying all the way just straight across. You can rearrange multiplication because of the commutative property. Then minus what? Do the division here. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So what is 3,600 minus 2? Well, it's 3,598. Okay, there's that one. And then last one, again, we have my expression here is k minus 3 all times k plus 1. So we just put that 1 in place of the k. So instead, it's 1 minus 3 in parentheses, and then it's 1 plus 2 in parentheses. So you do what's inside the parentheses first before you multiply, right? So inside the parentheses, 1 minus 3 is negative 2, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. So I have negative 2. And when you have a sets of parentheses, I should make sure you understand that two sets of parentheses next to each other means multiply. So when you have parentheses right next to each other, that means multiply. So negative 2 times 3. Now I can multiply because I have just single numbers in there. I get negative 6. All right. There you go.